Hey everybody, what's going on? Merry Christmas. And I've been doing quite a few videos lately on Stephanie Seymour and Axel. And I think the most recent one was about why Stephanie Seymour died in the November Rain video. So there was an article back in September of 1993 that People magazine published about Axel and Stephanie Seymour's breakup and the event that basically triggered it. And it happened during a Christmas party. Now, some people might think that the whole lawsuit that happened between Axel and Stephanie was instigated by Stephanie Seymour, who fired the first shot. It turns out it was Axel who first started all the legal proceedings. So let's go back to August of 1993. There was a lot going on with Guns N' Roses at that time. They were involved with the Steven Adler lawsuit that was going on. Axel was dealing with a lawsuit from that fan who he punched in St. Louis. Plus, Guns N' Roses had finished up their Use Your Illusion tour that went on for 2.5 years. They were getting the Spaghetti Incident ready for release in a couple months. And then they were just about to start filming or wrapping up filming on the Estranged music video. So on August 27, 1993, Axel, who was 31 at the time, brought legal action in Superior Court against Stephanie Seymour, who was 24 at the time. And Axel alleged that they had been engaged to marry. So the two broke up in February of 93, and Rose was suing Stephanie Seymour for assault, battery, and the recovery of more than $100,000 worth of jewelry, including a diamond, gold, and turquoise necklace and a 4.5 carat diamond engagement ring. So Axel's sister, Amy Bailey, who ran Guns N' Roses fan club back in the day, was actually interviewed for the article. She said he wants them returned, referring to Axel. So she said rather than keep them as a sad and sorry reminder, he wants to give them to a child abuse charity. So Stephanie Seymour, who once dated Warren Beatty, and as we all know, Axel ranted against him in 1992 during a show in Paris, at that time was now linked to billionaire Peter Brandt, who was a polo-playing owner of Interview magazine. So Stephanie and Axel's relationship dates back to 1991 when she first starred in the Don't Cry music video for Guns N' Roses. A story I had heard a long time ago is that Axel saw her on the front of some magazine and said, "I want her in the video." And then as we know, she ended up starring in the video with Axel. So according to Axel's sister, they said that at first everything was bliss and the whole relationship was wonderful until last Christmas, referring to December of 1992. So that's when Stephanie organized a Yuletide party for Axel and several dozen friends and relatives at his Malibu home. So according to Axel's sister, the two had been bickering and Axel preferred to be alone, asking the guests to leave around midnight. Seymour was more in a festive mood, and after she reportedly called him a name, a 45-minute brawl ensued in which Seymour allegedly swung a chair at Axel, just grazing the singer, then connected with a fist to the groin. "I never saw Axel strike, punch, or slap her," said Axel's sister, who is renowned for his explosive temper. And she said Stephanie wants to push things to the edge. So Seymour's camp denies all that, and not just the assault. She said, "I strongly disagree with Mr. Rose's version of these matters," she says through a spokesperson. "I was never engaged to Mr. Rose, and she intends to donate the jewelry in question to charity." As for Axel, she says, "I have gone on with my life, and I hope he can do as well." So, according to Seymour's sworn declaration in connection with the legal action she was taking against him, the trouble began after a verbal argument Stephanie had with Axel, after which he announced that there would be no Christmas party. She went on, and guests began to arrive in the late afternoon, and at some point in the middle of the party, Axel entered the house, slammed the door, was obviously very angry, went upstairs, and then came downstairs and left the house again. When Seymour's mother tried speaking with him, Axel began yelling and screaming at her and ultimately told her in no uncertain terms that she was not welcome in the house. Therefore, most of the people at the party left. Seymour went on to claim that once they were alone, Axel pushed her over the kitchen table, sending bottles and glasses smashing to the floor. And according to Seymour's testimony, Axel then grabbed her by the throat and dragged her barefoot through the broken glass. Axel would respond by claiming Seymour had grabbed his testicles and that he was merely defending himself. Inevitably, it was left to Doug Goldstein to try and fix things. He said, "I had to drive up there to kind of clean up that mess, not literally but emotionally, because he was distraught and down and I loved the guy to death, so I wanted to be there for him." Trying to put Axel back together after a major meltdown had become a regular practice, says Goldstein. It wasn't something that only transpired through the 2-year period. In the end, he says, "I was making those trips for 17 years. He could go a week long where I talked to him and he'd be in tears. I could never really figure out the derivation. I would just try to be there for him, and clearly the relationship stuff with Stephanie really got to him. I mean, really got to him, and he loved her to death." According to Goldstein, Axel and Stephanie had really bad fallings out before, but they always made up again. So Goldstein recalls after one bad break, Axel phoned him and asked him, "Do you know anybody with a white horse?" They'd split and he was trying to win her back. I said, "Let's see what I can do." So Goldstein, who prided himself on always being able to come up with whatever bizarre request his boss made the arrangements, and the next day a trailer containing the white Arabian Charger showed up outside Stephanie's Hollywood home. Axel gets on the horse and pulls up to the front of the door, and I knock on the door and go hide in the bushes. Next thing, he's on the horse apologizing to her, and you know what? Honest to God, it was one of the cutest things I'd ever seen. I'm hiding in the bushes watching this guy. I mean, he's pouring his heart and soul out. He's never been on a horse in his effing life, and the horse is moving back and forth, and he has no idea how to control it. It was just adorable, what we do for love. By 1994, however, the relationship had broken down so badly that Seymour was ready to take Axel to court, claiming compensation for certain domestic issues she alleged she had been a victim of. So according to a former Geffen employee, Axel had managed to obtain a photo of Brandt's wife Sandra, which he sent to Yoda, his psychic, in order to cast a spell around Sandra to protect her from Peter, because he felt that she too had been cuckolded as he had been, and he had a great deal of sympathy for her. So nevertheless, Axel had always hoped for some sort of reconciliation, and basically this lawsuit crushed that hope that he would ever reconcile with Stephanie Seymour. So things got messy pretty quickly. Axel's lawyers petitioned for a restraining order after alleging Seymour had taken cocaine in his house in the presence of her 2-year-old son Dylan. So according to another friend, Axel also believed that he and Stephanie had been together in more than 15 past lives. Then, when Erin Everly found herself subpoenaed to give evidence in the Seymour lawsuit, she decided to file her own lawsuit, accusing her former husband of assault and sexual battery. So Axel now had to endure the grimmest details of his personal life being discussed openly in court, and so both cases were eventually settled out of court, with Axel paying out a reported $400,000 to Stephanie Seymour. So Stephanie Seymour's lawyer, Michael Plongsker, would neither confirm nor deny the sum involved, except to say that the suit was eventually resolved amicably. So that does it for today's video, guys. Let me know your thoughts if you ever read the People magazine story, both from 1993 as well as 1994. And I hope you guys have a good day. And be sure to subscribe if you love GNR as much as I do. And go check us out on GNRCentral.com. Take care.
Hey, this is Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses, and you're watching GNR Central. Yeah!